he will come out.
Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Our lead remains Pakistan. Way too many things are happening there. Imran Khan's arrest has been declared illegal, but he's still not free. He'll have to fight for his bail. He'll have to appear before the Islamabad High Court tomorrow. The army has been deployed in 3 provinces in Pakistan. More than 9 people have died in the protests. The question is, what happens next? The army is the main actor, but it's dealing with an unprecedented situation. Violent protests are not new in Pakistan, but protests against the generals are virtually unheard of. Some analysts are talking about a divide in the army, but as of today, the theory does not quite add up. On Vantage tonight, as we bring you the updates, we'll also analyze the Pakistan thriller. How did Imran Khan become such an influential politician and a political leader that he can rally supporters to take on the all-powerful army? Plus lots of other news from across the globe. The headlines first. Days ahead of Turkish polls, third-party candidate Muharrem İnce withdraws from the election. He is accused of taking bribes and features in an alleged sex tape. He is denied involvement in both. Armenia and Azerbaijan trade gunfire along their restive border. It comes ahead of EU-hosted talks aimed at resolving their 30-year-old territorial dispute. They've already fought 2 wars over disputed territories, mainly Nagorno-Karabakh. Third blast near India's Golden Temple in a week. Punjab police arrest 5 people for the explosion in Amritsar last night. The first blast near the famous site took place on Sunday, the second on Monday. Australia's trade minister heads to Beijing. He's on a mission to mend ties. Australia wants China to lift import barriers after years of sanctions. Beijing is Canberra's largest trading partner. The trade ministers will be meeting in person for the first time since 2019. And EU lawmakers take the first step towards curbing AI. In a crucial vote, they've come a step closer to regulating AI tools like ChatGPT. This will be the first comprehensive legislation governing artificial intelligence. Pakistan is a thriller at the best of times. Today, it's been a nail-biter. There have been way too many developments today. We've been tracking them all day. It's still quite fluid, so we'll try to bring you the latest and make sense of the drama. The big headline is this: Imran Khan has been released from jail. He'll spend the night at a police guest house and won't be treated as a prisoner. Also, the government of Pakistan will now be responsible for his security. How did this happen? Thanks to Pakistan's Supreme Court, the top court in the country. It declared Imran Khan's arrest illegal, null and void. But this is just one case, and the reprieve may be just for one day. He must appear before the court again tomorrow, this time the Islamabad High Court. And the High Court will decide if he gets bail. So he's not out of the woods yet, far from it. Yet his supporters are celebrating. The same people who'd been protesting for the past few days, they're cheering the court's decision. Now, whatever the High Court decides tomorrow, Imran Khan's supporters will be more aggressive going forward. They'll also be more dangerous. And that's one part of the story, the legal fate of Imran Khan and the response of his supporters. The second, and perhaps more important part, is the impact on the army. Remember, the Pakistani military is facing its toughest test ever. They've lost every war they fought against India, but at home, the generals reign supreme. Today, their authority is being challenged. This is the first time in Pakistan's history that the army is being physically attacked by the people. So they must make their moves carefully. It can end in carnage or change. Imran Khan is proving to be a tough customer for them. He's fighting back on all fronts. He was arrested on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, he was produced before a judge and remanded to 8 days in custody. Who got the custody? The NAB, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Pakistan. Imran Khan told the judge that he was being ill-treated, that he was being tortured in custody, not even being allowed to use the washroom. Today, his lawyers approached the Supreme Court and they made the same complaint. They said the Rangers were misbehaving with the former Prime Minister. The court took up the matter. It declared the arrest illegal. It asked for Imran Khan to be produced before the court in 1 hour. As the headlines flashed this, more drama ensued. Intense speculation on what would follow. Would the judges defy the generals? Or were the generals looking to diffuse the protest through the judges? Well, whatever the case, Imran Khan was produced before the court. Amid tight security, he was brought to court number 1. He came in a convoy of 15 vehicles. There were rangers and local police, even a bomb disposal squad. Once Imran Khan was in court, the judges did not waste any time. They came down hard on the NAB for the way in which the arrest was made. And they ordered the immediate release of Imran Khan. So what is the basis of today's decision? A technicality. Let me explain with this video. You've seen it earlier on the show. This was the moment of Imran Khan's arrest. He was getting his biometrics done. The Pakistani rangers broke windows, they barged in and they arrested Imran Khan. Khan's lawyer said they'd sought a pre-arrest bail. Where? At the Islamabad High Court. They said the rangers interfered with the process, with a pre-arrest bail hearing. They arrested Imran Khan without giving him a chance to seek bail, and that is illegal, and that's ground for reversing his arrest. The Supreme Court has declared it null and void. Tomorrow will be another action-packed day in Pakistan. Imran Khan will get a chance to defend himself before the Islamabad High Court. But guess who else may have to defend himself? The Chief Justice of Pakistan, the man under whose watch Imran Khan's arrest was reversed. He's a man called Justice Umar Ata Bandial. We told you about him last month. He was in the news over a leaked audio tape. It featured Justice Bandial's mother-in-law. She was speaking to the wife of a PTI lawyer. What was the discussion about? The Chief Justice, the possibility of snap polls, and the current Pakistani government led by the Sharifs and the Bhutto Zardaris. Apparently, both women were unhappy with the government. Now, critics say this has influenced the judicial process, that the Chief Justice of Pakistan was influenced by his mother-in-law. That's the charge against him, and that he's sympathetic towards Imran Khan. Now, those in the government are wasting no time to rake this up. Maryam Nawaz, for instance, has said that the Chief Justice must step down. He hasn't responded yet, but in recent times, he has delivered some crucial judgments, and we must bear them in mind, including the one that decided the fate of Imran Khan as Premier. Last year, around the same time, Justice Bandial delivered a verdict against Imran Khan. He upheld the no-confidence vote against him. Today, he ruled the other way. So on the basis of facts, it may be hard really to challenge his neutrality, but then again, the Chief Justice is not the protagonist of the story. Not even in Imran Khan, perhaps. This story is about Pakistan's army more than anyone else. And the anger that they face. The pictures are very, very powerful and telling. Take a look at this. A Pakistani citizen in front of a Pakistani military establishment openly challenging the military, saying, "We will not go back." And that's the general sentiment. The government has blacked out social media in Pakistan, but there's no stopping protest videos. Here's another one. It shows security forces dragging a woman protesting in favor of Imran Khan. All of this happened yesterday. If the idea was to scare the protesters, it did not work. We told you about protesters storming the Corps commander's residence in Lahore. They destroyed furniture, they looted all kinds of things like peacocks. They were seen walking out with the birds. They also stole food like frozen strawberries, and they made videos of all of this. Take a look.
I got this frozen strawberry from Corps commander's refrigerator, deep freezer. We are all enjoying it here. Look at this.
The protests were not limited to Pakistan, though. Supporters of Imran Khan were demonstrating across the world. At New York's famous Times Square, Canada's Mississauga Celebration Square, and outside the Pakistani High Commission in London. Today was the third day of protests. 9 people died. Petrol bombs were thrown at over a dozen government offices. Even Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was not spared. His Lahore residence was attacked. There were violent protests in Peshawar. Offices of the Election Commission of Pakistan were ransacked. Cars and motorcycles were set on fire. Soldiers were deployed across Pakistan. The army was summoned for support in 3 provinces: Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. These provinces represent 75% of Pakistan. The army's deployment was followed by a sweeping crackdown. More than 1,300 people have been arrested across Pakistan. States like Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa have witnessed the worst violence in recent days. The army has been deployed there, like I told you. They're calling these protesters, or these protests rather, a black chapter in Pakistan's history. Rawalpindi, in fact, released a strongly worded statement. It was filled with warnings. It said that no one will be allowed to take the law in their hands. And this is a reference to the targeting of military installations. The army said Imran Khan's arrest is legal and that the people are being deceived against the military. They also said that the attacks on army properties were organized, part of a larger conspiracy. Let me read out some quotes. This is Pakistan's army talking about Imran Khan and his party. These miscreants evoke the nation's emotions for achieving their limited and selfish objectives. We are well aware that behind it were orders, directives, and complete pre-planning by some sinister party leadership. Any further attack on the army, including all law enforcement agencies, military and state installations and properties, will be severely retaliated, the responsibility of which will be on this very group that wants to push Pakistan into a civil war. Tough words. How should the world see the statement? Is this an attempt to defend the army, which has a reputation of seizing political power, which practically runs the country? Is Pakistan's army trying to discredit Imran Khan, who claims that the military tried to assassinate him? A bit of both, you could say. The army is clearly keen on taking back control. Like I said, soldiers have been deployed in various parts of the country. They have a sweeping mandate to restore order. Something called Article 245 has been implemented. What is this article? It's a section of Pakistan's constitution. It is invoked in extraordinary situations like this one, when local governments cannot maintain law and order. When this article is invoked in a province, it means that the army will be deployed and they get special powers under this act. The government can suspend fundamental rights. They can suspend jurisdiction of courts, restrict freedom of expression and assembly, and the army can shoot anyone without any warning. They can conduct arrests, even search of property without any warrant. Basically, anything is fair game, which is the case anyway in Pakistan, but this is legal cover for what the army may want to do. Yesterday, Shehbaz Sharif spoke about this. He delivered an address to the nation, and he declared the protesters as terrorists. He called them terrorists.
PTI chairman Imran Niazi की गिरफ्तारी करप्शन और करप्ट प्रैक्टिसेस के एक मुकदमे में हुई है। अल-कादर ट्रस्ट केस के तमाम शवाहिद सबूत मौजूद हैं जिस पर नैब इंक्वायरी कर रहा है। यहाँ पर मैं इन दहशतगर्दों और मुल्क दुश्मन अनासर को खबरदार करता हूँ कि वो इन मुल्क दुश्मन सरगर्मियों से फिलफौर बाज आ जाएं, वरना कानून हाथ में लेने वाले शरपसंदों को आनी हाथों से निमटा जाएगा और आइन और कानून के मुताबिक उनको करार वाक़ई सजा मिलेगी।
Now the story has been turned on its head. Imran Khan has been handed a lifeline, but his legal troubles, remember, are far from over. More than 100 cases against him. Where does that leave Imran Khan and his party, his political career? He says his life is in danger, which is not an unprecedented claim. He's been saying it for a while now. Also, Pakistan has a long history of political assassinations. But how serious is the threat to Imran Khan's life right now? And what is the army's game plan? That's in our next story. How things change in 24 hours. Yesterday, the protesters were on a rampage. Now the army is. Rawalpindi seems to be in no mood to tolerate the unrest. They've arrested PTI leaders. They've also deployed troops across cities. The question is, what is their game plan? Will they directly seize power or continue to act behind the scenes? Acting behind the scenes has one advantage. The army could escape some of the blame. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif promised a quote-unquote iron hand response yesterday. His speech, but the army's words. So the idea is to pin the blame on the civilian government, use Sharif as a front to crack down. And what does Sharif get in return? Probably continued support from the army. It's a good plan. Just one problem though. The Pakistani people will see right through it. They know where the blame lies in their country, not Islamabad, but in Rawalpindi. Which is why many military buildings have been targeted. So the scapegoat tactic may not really work. Having said that, let me spell out the ideal scenario for the Pakistani army, how it would like things to play out. The crackdown sends protesters back to their homes. Things settle over the weekend. Imran Khan gets convicted in one of the 100-plus cases against him. He's unable to contest elections, so the army either waits till August or calls for early elections. No surprises, the Sharif government gets another term. This is a perfect scenario for the Pakistani army. Of course, Imran Khan has another theory. He says he will be slow poisoned in custody. That's certainly not beyond the Pakistani army. But if his arrest resulted in these scenes, what will his custodial death trigger? So logically, killing Imran Khan would not make sense. But one thing can still spoil the army's party, and that's the people of Pakistan. If the protests continue to spiral, the army's options will be limited. They could be forced to take a more direct role in governance. I don't want to use the C word yet, but even a coup cannot be ruled out right now. Talk about an irony. The people may finally hold the key to Pakistan's future, not through elections, but through street protests. How did things reach such a point, though? How did Imran Khan become so popular? Remember, he was called the selected prime minister. He was handpicked by former military chief Qamar Javed Bajwa to become the prime minister. At least sit in the prime minister's chair. He was picked for that. In return, Imran Khan granted Bajwa another term as army chief. But around 2021, the relationship turned sour. Imran Khan tried to interfere in the army's affairs. He tried to withhold Rawalpindi's pick for ISI chief, and that was the beginning of the end. The army withdrew its support, ousted Imran Khan, and propped up Shehbaz Sharif as prime minister. That should have been the end of it. But Imran Khan had other plans. He mobilized his supporters against the establishment, even called Bajwa a traitor. It was unprecedented in Pakistani politics, a former prime minister taking on the military. So where did Imran Khan get that confidence? Well, from the people. Suddenly, Im the Dim became Im the Popular. His rallies were attended by thousands of people. At one point, he even played videos of India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. That showed a sense of confidence, a sense of complete control over his support base. How did he achieve that? Well, we can think of 4 reasons. Number one, Imran Khan is not your normal politician. He's also Pakistan's greatest sporting idol, the man who won them the Cricket World Cup. So Imran Khan was already a household name in Pakistan. Number two, the PTI isn't like any other political party in Pakistan. It's not dynastic, it's not feudal, it's based on cult of personality. And across the world, such leaders are doing well. Number three, Pakistan's economic condition. The growing middle class is disenchanted with the ruling elite. The politicians are seen as corrupt, the army is seen as power hungry. And that's where Imran Khan is seen as different. An outsider who can break the system. In reality, he too is responsible for the economic mess of Pakistan, but his supporters don't seem to remember that. And finally, reason number 4, his anti-America rant. It may sound hysterical, but there's logic to it. For decades, the army has cultivated anti-Americanism into Pakistani minds. There is inherent distrust of the US. Imran Khan simply tapped into that. He's undoubtedly the most popular politician in the country as of today, and the army knows this. Just look at what happened in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Both provinces were ruled by Imran Khan's party. But earlier this year, both assemblies were dissolved. Why? Because Imran Khan wanted snap polls. He wanted to demonstrate his party's popularity. That's when the Election Commission played spoilsport. They tried to delay the voting till October, basically tried to buy some time for the army. Once again, it was the judiciary that rescued Imran Khan. The Supreme Court of Pakistan ordered elections on the 14th of May, this weekend. Will that happen? Well, that depends on whether the army wants it to. The public sentiment is firmly anti-establishment. A free and fair election now would be a landslide win for Imran Khan's party. So Rawalpindi has 2 options. End this charade of democracy and take power, or rig the provincial election. As for Imran Khan, they can always fight another day. There are 100+ cases against him. It's only a question of which one to convict him on. What's the one thing that every country can agree on? Climate change? Too controversial. Sustainable development? Too hard. But what about terrorism? Surely the death of innocent civilians can bring the world together. Well, think again. We have countries actively defending bona fide terrorists. One of them is our neighbor, actually 2. But tonight we'll talk about China. Beijing has blocked an Indian resolution at the United Nations Security Council. What was the resolution about? Putting this man on the global sanctions list. His name is Abdul Rauf Azhar. Let me tell you about him. He is the brother of Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar. He's based in Pakistan, no surprise. He's also implicated in multiple terror attacks like the Indian Airlines hijacking in 1999, the Parliament attack in 2001, and the Pathankot attack in 2016. So India wanted to put this man on the UNSC sanctions list, but China objected. One iron brother came to another's rescue. And this is not the first time. In August last year, the US and India had moved a similar resolution. The target was the same man, Abdul Rauf Masood. Back then, China did the same thing. They put the proposal on hold to help Pakistan. In fact, I have a list for you. In October last year, India tried to sanction 2 terrorists, Hafiz Saeed, chief of Lashkar-e-Toiba, and Shahid Mahmood, another Lashkar leader. Guess who blocked the proposals? China did. In June, India tried to sanction Abdul Rahman Makki. He's Hafiz Saeed's brother-in-law, also mastermind behind 2611. Again, China blocked. In September, India moved another resolution. The target was Sajid Mir, also a Lashkar-e-Toiba leader. Again, China blocked. Do you see the pattern here? China has repeatedly shielded Pakistani terrorists. Ironically, some of them have been convicted by Pakistan themselves. Hafiz Saeed, jailed for terror financing. Sajid Mir, also jailed for terror financing. So there is no doubt about what these men have done. Then why not sanction them? Because in Pakistan, the punishment is a farce. These terrorists are probably lounging in some ISI safe house. But a UNSC sanction may actually bite. And it includes a travel ban, an asset freeze, also an arms embargo. Pakistan doesn't want that. They've just managed to exit the FATF grey list. FATF is the Financial Action Task Force. It's the terror financing watchdog. The last thing Pakistan wants is for people to see a UN-sanctioned terrorist roaming their streets. So what do? They get China to block all such proposals. It's a diplomatic and moral disgrace. We're talking about barbaric terrorists here. They have blood on their hands and million-dollar bounties on their head. Cracking down on them isn't just India's job. It should be the whole world's job, especially China. This is a country that has jailed 1 million Uyghurs in the name of extremism. Yet they cannot sanction a convicted terrorist. Rising superpower indeed. Beijing keeps telling India to normalize relations, but their actions suggest otherwise. They're shielding terrorists who killed innocent Indians, who attacked India's parliament. And for what? To help their colony/iron brother. What options does India have going forward then? At the UNSC, very few. China is a permanent member of this council, so its membership is never going to expire. They can keep extending their objection to India's requests. So New Delhi has 2 options basically. One is to persist. In the past, China has removed its objection after multiple attempts, like with Masood Azhar. They kept objecting in 2009, then again in 2010, and from 2016 to 2018. But finally, in 2019, China relented. Another example is Abdul Rahman Makki. China objected in 2022, but relented this year. So that's one option for India, to keep at it. The second option is to pursue the case elsewhere, like at the FATF. But the truth is, India shouldn't have to. It shouldn't take a dozen attempts to designate a terrorist, because this is a matter of global security, not petty politics of a wannabe superpower. Vantage continues after a short break.
Imran Khan can turn around and tell his supporters that this is exactly what I've been warning all along. These supporters have been rioting, they've been attacking civilian as well as army installations. He can turn around and tell them that this validates and vindicates his position that there is a corrupt system out there represented by the civilian government and maybe even elements within the army. And he's the guy who's trying to fix the system, and now the system is fixing him. So in a sense, the events of the last couple of days, politically speaking, when he is finally fully released, doesn't this vindicate his position?
Actually, the case in which Imran Khan has been arrested, the case is very strong as far as my understanding is concerned. And Imran Khan was asked by the National Accountability Bureau to join the investigation, but he was reluctant to join the investigation. and they sent him many requests that he and his wife Bushra Bibi, they should join the investigation, but they never joined the investigation. Today, Imran Khan told the Supreme Court that I responded National Accountability Bureau through my lawyer.
Okay.
But that is not the case. I think that there are some other cases also in which Imran Khan was asked to join the investigation, and he never joined the investigation. So it's good that the Supreme Court have provided an opportunity to Imran Khan that now the NAB can contact him tomorrow in the premises of the Islamabad High Court. Then he will come out and they can, talk to NAB through his lawyers. But I think that Imran Khan may be arrested in some other case in coming few days.
So in the interim, what we saw in the last 2 days, unprecedented scenes, PTI supporters attacking army
Do you remember Liz Truss? I won't blame you if you don't. She was Prime Minister of Britain for all of 45 days. Her policies were disastrous. They plunged the British pound to an all-time low. You don't recover from that sort of thing. But Liz Truss still has hope. She's trying to make a comeback ahead of next year's election. Her strategy? Taiwan. Truss has announced that she will visit the island next week. What for? To show solidarity, she says. But let's be real. Liz Truss is not going to show solidarity. She's going to revive her political career. And what better way than a visit to Taiwan? A former Prime Minister bravely standing up against China. Normally, it would make for great headlines, but this time, even her own party is not amused. The chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee has criticized the plan. She's also a Tory, by the way. And she says the visit is the worst kind of Instagram diplomacy, and we agree. Taiwan isn't some campaigning ground for Western leaders. It's a self-ruled island of 23 million people. These leaders fly on private jets. They wine and dine with Taiwan's leaders, make some statements about democracy and freedoms, and then they fly out. It's the people of Taiwan who deal with the consequences. Do you remember Nancy Pelosi's visit? She was retiring as US Speaker last year. She wanted something to cement her legacy. So what did she do? She went to Taiwan. Pelosi's trip ended without any hiccups. But do you know what happened afterwards? China carried out 6 days of live fire drills. They were this close to war. Dozens of fighter jets buzzed near Taiwan's airspace. PLA warships sailed on the horizon. Imagine living in that situation under the constant threat of war. Nancy Pelosi did not feel any of that fear or concern. She was safely on a plane back home. Pelosi used Taiwan to create her legacy. Liz Truss wants to use Taiwan to relaunch her career. It's selfish and dangerous politics. Does that mean no Western leader should visit Taiwan? Of course not. But visits should have a genuine objective. It should be over and above material assistance. Right now, that's not the case. We keep hearing about new U.S. military packages for Taiwan. Another one is about to be cleared. It's worth $500 million. But how many of these weapons have actually been delivered? The backlog is huge. Some reports say it's worth $19 billion. Just think about that. Weapons worth $19 billion are yet to be delivered. So put yourself in the shoes of Taiwan's leaders. What would you want? The weapons you were promised? Or another symbolic visit followed by Chinese war games? I think I know the answer. In this case, the war games may not even happen. Why is that? Because even China doesn't care about Liz Truss. Look at this report in the Global Times. It says, washed up political figure Liz Truss eyes political capital through Taiwan visit. As they say, even a dead clock is right twice a day. Here, the Global Times is right. My point is, the West should focus on actual assistance, whether it's weapons, financial aid, or political support. Such visits are nothing but distractions, and dangerous distractions at that. And this is not just about Taiwan. The West's Indo-Pacific policy has historically been like this. High on talk, low on action. Fiji's former Prime Minister summed it up best. He was speaking to US Secretary of State Antony Blinken last year. Listen to what he said. Fiji and our small state neighbours have felt at times, to borrow an American term, like a flyover country. Small dots spotted from plane windows of leaders en route to meetings where they spoke about us rather than with us. That's a damning but true assessment. But now things seem to be changing. Joe Biden is scheduled to visit Papua New Guinea on the 22nd of May. Reports say he will sign a defense and security pact. No secrets who the target is. It's China. The US will also double financial aid to $32 million. Out of this, $25 million is for climate action, which is all great. But the question is it too late? China has expanded its Pacific footprint in the last 2 decades. I have some numbers for you. From 2006 to 2017, China's aid to the Pacific was around $1.5 billion. The type of aid is also important. Most of it is in the form of big infrastructure projects like ports, roads and airports. Chinese companies are also in the game. Their investments reached $958 million by 2017. Chances are it's now crossed $1 billion. Trade is growing. It was $153 million in 1992. It increased to $5.3 billion in 2021. And the US stood by as all of this happened, as China tried to displace the West in the Pacific. But last year, things changed. China tried to sign a security pact with 10 Pacific nations. The plan failed, but Washington woke up. Biden decided to host Pacific leaders at the White House. He also announced an $800 million financial package. Fun fact, the US Congress still hasn't cleared it. These delays have given China a foothold in the Pacific. But there's still hope. The rejection of China's security pact is evidence of that. The US must use this opportunity to push ahead. Let's see what Biden's Papua New Guinea visit can achieve on that front. This time, he's not flying over the country. He's actually making a stop. Now let's shift our focus to Israel. The violence in the region is escalating. In fact, the tensions made Israel's Foreign Minister Eli Cohen cut his India visit short. He was supposed to leave today after a host of meetings, but he raced back to Israel on Tuesday after the fighting intensified. Today is the 3rd day of continuous fighting. Militants in the Gaza Strip have been launching rockets. Israel has been conducting airstrikes. This morning, a top commander of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group was killed. His apartment was hit in a pre-dawn strike. It was one of many attacks. Israel's military says it hit 158 PIJ targets. They've been ramping up the offensive. Our next report brings you the details.
Violence keeps on escalating in the Gaza Strip. Today is the 3rd consecutive day of fighting. Rockets are being fired continuously, both by Palestinian militants and the Israeli military. Israel says it's cracking down on the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, or PIJ group. So far, it has taken out 4 PIJ commanders. The 4th commander, Ali Ghali, was killed early this morning. He was allegedly in charge of the PIJ's rocket launch unit. The Israeli military says 3 people were killed in their pre-dawn airstrike. It claims the other 2 were also militants. A funeral procession was held for Ghali today. His daughter spoke to the press.
I was following the news. I couldn't sleep because of these circumstances. I was watching the news channels. I heard that there was a bombing of a residential apartment in the town of Hamad. I kept watching because I had relatives living there, until I received the news that my father, my uncle and cousin had all been martyred. The 3 of them had been killed together as they were in the same apartment.
This is a shot of his apartment after the Israeli strike. The building he lived in isn't just filled with militants, though.
I went downstairs and I found dead bodies in this area. They bombed the house without any warning while people were asleep.
The latest bout of violence has left at least 27 Palestinians dead. This includes 5 women and 5 children. At least 70 people have been injured during the attacks. and the situation may boil over to another war between Gaza and Israel. The PIJ released this video of its fighters preparing for more rocket launches. They've promised to avenge the deaths of their commanders. Yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this.
Citizens of Israel, we are still in the middle of the military campaign. At this very moment, our forces are attacking with might in the Gaza Strip and exacting a heavy price on the terrorist organizations. We say to the terrorists and those who send them, we see you everywhere. You can't hide, and we choose the place and time to strike you. We do, not you. Not only by retaliating, also with calm. The choice is ours.
Strong words in keeping with his strong man image. It begs the question, is Netanyahu using this escalation for his own ends? Remember, he's been facing massive protests since the turn of the year. His government is facing flack for his proposed judicial overhaul. Critics say his plan would undermine the country's democracy. And people were out in the streets in force. He's been on the back foot for a while now. This latest escalation is an opportunity for him to burnish his credentials. That might explain why the Israeli attacks continue, despite Egypt and other nations brokering a ceasefire. Despite condemnation from the UN and bodies like the Norwegian Refugee Council, because Netanyahu knows that there's no way to only target militants. They make their offices in civilian buildings for a reason, after all. It's a situation where no matter who attacks, ordinary people will pay the price. But despite this, Netanyahu's pressing on with the attack. Cool heads, not strongman tactics, are the need of the hour.
Now let's talk about what conflict and violence can lead to. Human suffering and displacement. We saw it in 2022. More than 71 million people were forced to leave their homes. That's the highest ever in 1 year. These are internally displaced people, refugees in their own countries.
This year's global report on internal displacement is painting a rather bleak picture of the world, since we're reporting the highest number ever of internally displaced people globally. This is roughly double the number that we were recording 10 years ago, and it's a 20% increase on last year.
71 million people forced to leave their homes but not flee their countries. What explains this high number of internal refugees? The war in Ukraine and climate change. These were the two biggest factors.
Much of the increase is caused, of course, by the war in Ukraine, but also by floods in Pakistan, by new and ongoing conflicts across the world, and by a number of sudden and slow onset disasters that we've seen from the Americas all the way to the Pacific.
Climate change is hurting the whole world, but in 2022, the worst affected was Pakistan. It suffered a brutal monsoon last year. There were massive floods. They displaced about 8 million Pakistanis. Many returned home when the floods abated, but more than 1 million couldn't go back even by the end of the year, last year. And this is a conservative estimate. It's extremely difficult to collect information about internally displaced people. So this report does not show the full picture. It talks about displacements due to conflict. That's where Ukraine tops the list. Over the last year, almost 17 million Ukrainians had to leave their homes. As the war spread from one city to another, people moved to relatively safer zones. Russia's initial offensive was rebuffed in Kiev. Fighting in the capital ended by April 2022. So people could return home here. But that's not the case in cities like Bakhmut. It's been the worst and the longest battle in this war. It has seen near constant warfare. The city is in ruins, and the people of Bakhmut don't have a home to return to. At the end of 2022, about 6 million people remain displaced in Ukraine, the second highest in the world after Syria. This is the list of 10 countries with the most internal refugees due to conflict. Most of them feature regularly in this list, like Afghanistan. Last year, more than 32,000 people were displaced due to violence in Afghanistan. More than 4 million Afghans displaced earlier have not been able to return home. And it's not just conflict that is plaguing this country, it's climate change too. Multiple natural disasters struck Afghanistan last year. There were heavy floods in May, an earthquake in June. Almost 250,000 Afghans were displaced. More than 2 million cannot go home due to climate disasters. The total number of Afghans who become refugees in their own country is 6.5 million. And this does not include the people who fled the Taliban regime, who've left Afghanistan. Across the border in Pakistan, things are hardly better. Like I said, 8 million people were displaced due to the monsoon last year. Agricultural land was submerged, cities were inundated, people survived in makeshift camps, waiting for the waters to recede. Disease and hunger crippled the population. Pakistan is still reeling under the economic impact of the floods, and now it's setting itself on fire over politics. Conflict in Pakistan is not ending anytime soon, and climate change is far from being reversed. So this year is not expected to be better. It's a grim situation, the world over, in fact. People, often the most poor and marginalized, are being forced from their homes. This year's conflict in Sudan is sure to drive up the numbers further. There's not much we can do except hope that conflicts end and climate action becomes more urgent. Until that happens, the refugee numbers will keep rising. And it won't just be a humanitarian problem anymore. It will be an economic, political, and social problem. And as of today, world leaders aren't even talking about addressing it. Now let's turn our attention to space. Scientists are baffled by a mysterious celestial object, an ultra-luminous X-ray source. We'll tell you more about it. Also the fact that it is breaking the law of physics, that is, because it is really bright. To give you an idea, it is 10 million times as bright as the sun. Scientists say that something as bright as this should not even exist. It should have blown itself up into pieces. Then why is this mysterious object still existing? And why is it such a puzzle for science? Our next report tells you.
There is a mysterious object in space, and scientists are scrambling to learn more about it. It's called an ultra-luminous X-ray source, or ULX in short. It's 10 million times as bright as the sun. Yes, 10 million times. And it's very difficult to figure out, mainly because it's a lawbreaker in the world of physics. And according to scientists, its existence is impossible. To understand why, let's talk about a concept in astronomy, the Eddington limit. It's a rule in astrophysics, which is a branch of astronomy. The law talks about the brightness of objects. It determines how bright something of a given size can be, and it puts a limit on this brightness. It says that an object can only be so bright before it breaks apart. But a new study is out. It's based on a ULX ultra-luminous X-ray source. The object is 12 million light-years away from us, and it's 10 million times as bright as the sun. This is baffling scientists because it exceeds the Eddington limit by hundreds. How can an object like this exist? And why hasn't it exploded yet? Scientists are now trying to understand the object, and they're coming up with different theories. At first, they thought it was just an optical illusion. They believed they saw something that doesn't exist. But that wasn't true. Later, they thought the object was a black hole, but that was wrong as well. Now scientists have reached a new conclusion. They believe it holds more weight. They say ULX is a neutron star. In other words, leftover bits of stars like our sun. And it's quite strong, or in terms of astronomy, quite dense, because of its intense gravity, which is 100 trillion times stronger than that of Earth. This means a ULX can pull something with much more force than the Earth can towards it. And that pull has a lot to do with the brightness of a ULX. Whenever it pulls any material onto its surface, there is an explosive effect. Sounds complicated, and it is. But imagine something as small and light as a marshmallow. Even if that were dropped on the surface of a ULX, there would be a huge explosion. How huge? Worth the energy of 1,000 hydrogen bombs. And what's the secret behind this energy? No, not a health drink, but food. And lots of it. Any material hitting the surface of a ULX is consumed by the star. Do you know how much material the ULX consumes? 1.5 Earth's worth of material each year. And it's enough to produce this off-the-charts energy. So you can see why ULX is a matter of great intrigue. It's an exotic cosmic object. But with an object like this, there are no quick answers. After all, scientists just can't pay the ULX a visit. They don't want to become its lunch. Instead, astronomers are keenly observing the skies, waiting for a chance to know more about the ULX. because even a small change will make for a groundbreaking discovery.
The French say we must suffer if we are to be beautiful. The question is, to what extent? How much should you suffer? Especially if the suffering extends to something as basic as nails. That's right. The beauty of nails is a prized asset. It's also a global industry, an industry worth about $13 billion. It sells pretty nails with an unspoken undertone of dangerous diseases. Now a woman is speaking up. Lifelong use of manicures has given her an allergy. Her nails have become inflamed. They're peeling off. Her fingers have turned purple. She can barely use her hands anymore. But she isn't the only one. Health experts say manicures and gel nail paints can cause cancer, DNA damage, and severe rashes. It sounds horrifying. But if pretty nails have such ugly consequences, then why is the world still such a fan? Here's a report.
They say beauty is pain. But just how much? Ask Lisa Dewey. She's a 36-year-old British woman. She used to be a fan of gel nails. You know, the artificial nail enhancements done in place of natural nails. They give nails a glossy look. But more than that, they've given Dewey a terrible allergy. Her nails have become inflamed. They're peeling off from the nail bed. Skin is tearing away from her fingers, which, by the way, have turned purple. She's unable to do basic things like wash her daughter's hair. She's in a lot of pain. But she's not the only one. Many women share her pain. Some of them now have cancer. Yes, manicures have given women skin cancer on their hands. It's because of the nail dryers used in salons. They emit ultraviolet light. It speeds up the process of drying the paint and gel on nails, but also speeds up the risks of skin damage, which can increase in as few as 8 visits to the manicurist. But the risk of getting skin cancer is relatively rare. The chances of developing skin allergies are way more common. They include nails loosening or even falling off, and severe rashes on the face, neck, and chest. This is all a result of dangerous chemicals in the nail products. They seep into the skin and cause allergies. Sounds scary, right? Maybe even reason enough to reduce trips to the nail salon? But this problem doesn't just stop with the customers. Manicures are even more brutal to the manicurists. Perfect nails are poisoning salon workers. Manicurists handle the chemicals of nail products and breathe their fumes. They do so day after day and develop fatal health problems like cancer, abnormal fetal development, miscarriages, and breathing problems. But none of these risks are new. People have known about them for years now. Yet nail salons rarely have a dearth of customers. So you may be wondering, why don't women just stop getting manicures? Doesn't good health trump pretty nails? That's a fair question. But to ask that is to question the beauty industry as a whole, or even beauty itself, because the risks aren't limited to glossy nails. Look at the everyday products we use. Soaps, lotions, deodorants, hair products. A number of them cause cancer. Some of them cause fertility issues. Or look at cosmetic plastic surgery. It can cause blood clots, nerve damage, and even death. Yet, time and again, we use what the beauty industry gives us. We hold ourselves to its unrealistic standards. We give it our money and health. It tells us why we need to be insecure, then tells us how to get over it. It's no lie that we're trapped in a vicious spiral. Why spiral? Because while the trap may feel never-ending, we hold the power to put an end to it. Beauty may lie in the eyes of the beholder, but our health lies in our own hands.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Starting with Turkey, the country is gearing up for election. President Erdogan held a massive rally in Istanbul. Meanwhile, NASA has released images of solar flares. They are by far the most powerful explosions in the solar system. And Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is famous for many things. One of them is keeping his composure while being mercilessly grilled during Senate hearings. But this time he lost it. No, not during another hearing, but in a jiu-jitsu competition. A referee thought that Zuckerberg tapped out, so he declared the opponent the winner. But the billionaire wasn't having any of it. He protested, and how? We'll show you. And finally, what makes May the 11th significant? We're taking you back in history. On this day, India conducted 3 underground nuclear tests. This happened at the Pokhran range in the Indian state of Rajasthan. The year was 1998. The test was called Operation Shakti. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India. 2 days later, another test was conducted. The world condemned the tests, but for India, it was a source of national pride and technological advancement. Over the years, India has proven to be a responsible nuclear power with a no first use policy. We leave you with that. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
पोखरण परमाणु परीक्षण के जरिए भारत ने न केवल अपने वैज्ञानिक सामर्थ्य को साबित किया, बल्कि भारत के वैश्विक कद को एक नई ऊंचाई भी दी थी। अटल जी के शब्दों में ही कहूं तो अपनी ध्येय यात्रा में हम कभी रुके नहीं हैं, किसी चुनौती के समक्ष कभी झुके नहीं हैं।
İstanbul! Dönde bir bak kiradın geldi. Ayağa kalk İstanbul! İşte İstanbul'un Cumhurbaşkanımız Recep. Ayağa kalk İstanbul! İskanı Mustafa Destici. Vatanına, milletine, bayrağına...
This reaction is non-political. This reaction is not the reaction of PTI, which is a political party. This reaction is the reaction of TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And today, one commander of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, he issued a statement and he is saying that we are also supporting PTI. So this is not a response of a political party. This is the response of a fan club, which is very angry over the arrest of their leader.
All right, so that's a big statement that you're making, that this is not just the response of PTI workers, but possibly also a response of the TTP. Of course, Imran Khan has been accused of being hand in glove with the Islamist elements there. But we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Hamid Mir, for joining us. I'm joined by a very senior journalist from Pakistan, one of the most recognized, one of the most credible journalists in Pakistan. Hamid Mir of GeoTV is now joining us. Mr. Mir, thank you very much. What do you make of today's developments? The Pakistan Supreme Court saying categorically.
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Our top story amid the political turmoil in Pakistan over the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. There is a big relief for the PTI chief. The Pakistan Supreme Court has ruled that his arrest is illegal. Imran Khan is currently at the guest house at the police lines in Islamabad, where he has been allowed to meet his family. He called on his supporters to maintain peace and called for free and fair elections. Imran Khan's arrest triggered violent protests across the nation, with protesters setting fire to several buildings, including the Radio Pakistan building in Peshawar. He will be produced before the Islamabad High Court tomorrow. However, the legal trouble is far from over for Imran Khan. He has also been indicted in the Toshakhana case. His close aides Shah Mahmood Qureshi and Fawad Chaudhry have also been arrested. According to Pakistan government sources, emergency can be imposed if the chaos continues.
इमरान खान उनके खिलाफ जो सारी कार्रवाई है उसको रिवर्स करके सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने कहा है कि नहीं रहे, ना पुलिस की कस्टडी में हैं, बल्कि वो चले गए इस वक्त सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान की कस्टडी में। हाई कोर्ट में पेश होंगे और हाई कोर्ट की कार्रवाई वहीं से शुरू होगी जहां पे आके उनको अगवा किया गया था और आपने देखा अगवाकार कौन थे। तीसरा जो ऑर्डर है वो ये है कि इमरान खान अपने वकला और दोस्त उनमें से जिन लोगों को बुलाना चाहेंगे वो 10 या इससे कमोबेश लोग उनके साथ वहां जा सकते हैं।
In the interim, what we saw in the last 2 days, unprecedented scenes, PTI supporters attacking army installations. I can't remember the last time such a thing happened, that army establishments were attacked. What do these events mean for this delicate sort of face-off that's been going on between Imran Khan and, of course, the civilian government on the one side, but more importantly, Imran Khan and the army?
But this is the first time that Imran Khan was arrested and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf attacked not only Corps Commander House in Lahore, but they tried to enter in GHQ, and today they tried to enter in the Corps Commander House in Multan. And they are also attacking the offices of the paramilitary troops in different cities of Pakistan. You see, why they are doing this? Because this is not a political party. Actually, their reaction is not political. This reaction is non-political. This reaction is not the reaction of PTI, which is a political party. This reaction is the reaction of TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And today, one commander of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, he issued a statement and he is saying that we are also supporting PTI. So this is not a response of a political party. This is the response of a fan club, which is very angry over the arrest of their leader.
All right, so that's a big statement that you're making, that this is not just the response of PTI workers, but possibly also response of the TTP. Of course, Imran Khan has been accused of being hand in glove with the Islamist elements there. But
breaking news coming in. Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has announced the expert committee to examine a prospective law to end polygamy in the state. The 4-member panel will be chaired by retired Judge Rumi Fukan. The panel has been given 60 days to submit its report. I'm joined by my colleague Preeti on the phone line. Preeti, give us the details.
Yes, just after a day when the Chief Minister of Assam, he stated that in Assam they will give an end to polygamy. We can see that a committee has already been formed, and Assam government has already constituted a committee to examine the state legislator competence to ban polygamy. And this whole committee involves Justice Srimati Rumi Fukan and Devajit Saikia, who is the Advocate General of Assam, and also Nalin Kohli, who is the Additional Advocate General, and Nakibur Jaman, who is also advocate. And it has been said that the committee will be given a deadline of 60 days to submit its report. And we have seen that after the Chief Minister of Assam has stated it in front of the press that in Assam polygamy will see an end. We can see that a lot of political reactions have also come in, while we saw AIUDF Chief Badruddin Ajmal saying that the Muslims here will always have that freedom to marry 4 wives at least. And they are also giving strong reactions against the ban on polygamy.
Right, Preeti, you're pointing that out, that the AIUDF has reacted to this entire push against polygamy in Assam. Let's listen in to the AIUDF chief. Now, the AIUDF chief, Badruddin Ajmal, has said that Islam practices a safe form of polygamy. Listen in.
Etu research है मुसलमानों डिवोर्स बहु बिया सबसे कम अन्य जातीय बेसी करे पहले ऑफ द रेकर्ड करे आमान मानुए जो एटा करे बा दुईटा करे हाम बिया करिब नोवारिब मस्जिद जाय काजी रेकर्ड करे एटु रेकर्डत पावा जाय तो जियो गले 3टा 4टा राखी আছে আর ইললিগাল রাখি আছে কোনো খরচাও নি দিয়ে কোনো দায়িত্ব নাই এইগুলো কোনো অ্যানালাইসিস করব না লাগে নিয়ে করক যদি ইমানদারির সাথে দেখে যদি রিসার্চ করে তে মুসলিম মানুহৰ পৰা বহুত বেছি অন্য ধৰ্মৰ মানুহসকল এৰেষ্ট হ'ব জেলত যাব
Right, so this is clearly becoming a political flashpoint when it comes to the state of Assam. Preeti continues to be with us on the broadcast. So Preeti, that pitch coming in from the AIUDF that the government should do some research when it comes to considering polygamy among Muslims, even saying that Islam practices a safe form of polygamy, while when it comes to polygamy in other faiths, there are no official records. Any reaction coming in from the Congress camp as this becomes a political hot button in the state?
Not yet. We have not seen Congress commenting, and they have refrained from commenting on this topic of polygamy. But we have seen that while the Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma stated about bringing a ban on polygamy, he did not particularly state that the polygamy will ban the marriages done in the Muslim community only. He stated that it will be a ban on polygamy. Whoever is involved in it, he will have to stop there from practicing polygamy. That is what came from the Chief Minister. And also we have seen that Badruddin Ajmal has earlier stated that if this ban is done on polygamy, then this will be an attack on the Muslim community particularly. However, while we saw Chief Minister speaking, he stated that it is regardless any religion. Polygamy will mean stopping getting married to multiple women at the same time. So that is what came from the Chief Minister, and we have got reactions from AIUDF. But yes, Congress as of now has refrained from commenting anything on polygamy.
Right. Thank you so much for getting us that perspective when it comes to the political tussle over this anti-polygamy push in Assam, Preeti. We'll continue to track all the developments which are coming in, but let's shift focus now to Maharashtra, ladies and gentlemen. The Supreme Court has delivered a mega jolt to the political landscape of the state. A 5-judge constitutional bench headed by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud pronounced that it cannot order the restoration of the Uddhav government as the Chief Minister resigned without facing a floor test. The apex court said that the decision to quit was voluntary. The BJP has hailed the ruling, saying the court's refusal to reinstate the MVA government shows that the Shinde government is legitimate and legally stable. Sources say there may be a cabinet expansion on the cards in the coming days, where 15 to 16 ministers could be inducted into the government. However, the top court also stated that the governor's decision for a floor test was wrong. The Supreme Court ruled that the exercise of discretionary power was not as per the law, adding that the governor erred in judgment that the Uddhav government had no majority. The court said that there was no objective material to doubt the integrity of the MVA government, and a floor test can't be used for the resolution of a party dispute. While the court has ruled that the Speaker will decide on the disqualification of MLAs, the Uddhav camp has said that the Chief Minister should resign on moral grounds, as the Supreme Court has questioned the entire process. However, both the Speaker and the former governor have defended their actions, calling them legally sound. While the Uddhav camp is banking on the morality card delivered by the Supreme Court, the reins of power and the Sena name are firmly in the hands of the Shinde camp.
Had Mr. Thackeray refrained from resigning from the post of the Chief Minister, this court could have considered the grant of the remedy of reinstating the government headed by him.
A Supreme Court bench led by the Chief Justice observing that Uddhav Thackeray's resignation last year was a mistake. The apex court declined to restore status quo in Maharashtra, which means that Chief Minister Eknath Shinde gets to keep his job.
जैसे सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने कहा कि अगर मैं रिजाइन नहीं करता, मैं इस्तीफा नहीं देता, तो शायद मैं वापस मुख्यमंत्री बन जाता। मैं मेरे लिए नहीं लड़ रहा हूँ। मेरी लड़ाई जनता के लिए है, मेरे देश के लिए, मेरे राज्य के लिए है। और भले हम इसके पहले राजनीति में विवाद तो होते रहते हैं, लेकिन एक मत तो हमारा हो गया है कि इस देश को हमें बचाना है।
Shinde and his deputy Devendra Fadnavis claimed vindication.
हम लोगों ने जो सरकार स्थापित किया है, वो पूरी तरह से कानून और घटना इसका आदर करते हुए हम लोगों ने किया है। और जो जिनके पास बहुमत नहीं था, उन्होंने रिजाइन किया है।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट बहुत स्पष्टता से कहता है कि गवर्नर साहब ने शिंदे जी को मुख्यमंत्री पद की शपथ लेने का जो न्योता दिया वो सही है। इसका ही मतलब ये होता है कि शिंदे जी के नेतृत्व में जो सरकार तैयार हुई है वो लेजिटिमेट है, वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है, और इसलिए हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आभार व्यक्त करते हैं।
But the Supreme Court did pull up then Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari for taking decisions that helped the Shinde faction, like concluding that Thackeray had lost the support of the majority of MLAs and calling for a floor test.
जो मसला सुप्रीम कोर्ट में था
उस मसले पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपना निर्णय दे दिया है। उस निर्णय पर जो कानूनविद हैं वही अपनी राय व्यक्त